Happy Friday. You all have made it to the weekend here. 10 more games left in the 2022-2023 regular season for your Pittsburgh Penguins. We're going to recap this game against the Dallas Stars. Why there's really nothing to be upset about other than just them being in the position that they're in right now. And then we'll do a little bit of a preview for the game against the Washington Capitals. That's all coming up right after this drop.
You're Locked On Penguins, your daily podcast on the Pittsburgh Penguins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I'm, of course, your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. Follow the show's Twitter at Penguins. And, of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all platforms. So, Stars 3, Penguins 2 in a very, very good game on Thursday night. For those that stay up to watch it, you all are the real MVPs. Honestly, everyone that followed the game, you all real MVPs. Whether you stayed up to watch it on ESPN or you tuned in via the radio. Heck, even if you woke up this morning and did not get to see the full game, you are also still the MVP, even though, I'm judging you a little bit because, I'm staying up on a Thursday night. It's Friday next day. It's okay. It's okay. But, Penguins don't get any points out of it. And if it weren't for this time of year, and it weren't for the position that they're in, I wouldn't really be that mad about it. And honestly, I'm still not even that mad about it. The Penguins played their tails off in that game. They did. They dominated the Stars at 5-on-5. They lost this game because they got out-goalied. No disrespect to Casey DeSmith. It's fine, but going up against Jay Cottinger here, people. He's one of the 5 to 6 best goaltenders in the sport. Got out-goalied. And once again, Penguins lost the special teams battle. It's been happening all season long, and it reared its ugly head again on Thursday night. And, you want to look at the metrics? We will go, into the metrics here. The Penguins at 5-on-5 had 58% of the shot attempts. They had 58% of the scoring chances, 58% of the high danger chances, and 54% of the expected goals. Complete and utter domination. The process has been there for this team. It's been there since February. It's been there since the beginning of March. It has been there all season. They have not finished their chances. They have gotten bad goaltending, and their special teams have stunk. That goes, also with the roster decisions that this front office has made. It's another main reason why they're here. But again, that kind of goes hand in hand with the issues that I brought up with the goaltending, special team, especially the penalty kill, and I just like screw so yeah, and the depth scoring. Jeez, I almost screwed that up. Just again, I was really happy with what I saw. Penguins were getting to the dirty areas. They were forechecking aggressively. They were playing well in their defensively in their own zone. The Stars, they got theirs in the third period mainly just because of Wes McCauley. That was a 1-1 game for the majority, of that second period after Sid tied it for the majority of the third period. And then Wes decided to, I'm going to call penalties for no reason. That call on P.O. Joseph, I originally thought it was Evgeny Malkin for some reason. I was just being really stupid. That call on P.O. Joseph was one of the worst calls I think I've seen all season. He literally did not do a thing on that play. I don't know how Wes called that a hook, gave the Stars a power play. The Penguins were able to kill it off, and Chad Ruhwedel decides to take another penalty 30 seconds later. That one was more of a penalty, but still, in the span of just a few minutes, Joe Pavelski gets that go-ahead goal. Jamie Benn gets his 31st goal of the season. It's 3-1. Game's basically out of reach. I know the Penguins almost tied it at the end, but with how this team has played, mostly everyone's thinking like, the game's already over. That's just how quick things can turn in a third period of a very, tight game. And it all started because of that garbage call from Wes McCauley. I really don't understand why he decided to call that, especially when they were letting the entire officiating staff was letting so many things go. In the first and second periods, the Stars got a power play, Penguins got a power play. Other than that, there were no other penalties called. But yet, that's the ticky-tacky call that Wes is going to call in the third period with what? 7 minutes into it, 8 minutes into it, whatever it was. Come on, man. I try not to pick on officiating too much on this show. I don't like blaming officials for losses. I think that's just loser level stuff. But in this one, it's just a rare thing where it's like, Wes, you by doing this, you indirectly, well, I shouldn't even say indirectly, but you kind of directly cause the outcome of this game. And I'd say the same thing if you weren't calling the penalties too. But that first one was on a penalty. You don't call that. The Chatterweedle penalty doesn't get called. And who knows how this game goes. So, I like how the Penguins were able to battle back. P.O. Joseph gets his 5th goal of the season. Really nice shot from the point. Penguins were able to come very close to tying it later on in regulation. Ricard Raquel had a glorious chance late in the final minute. Ottinger with a ridiculous save with his shoulder. And the Penguins with perhaps one of the best set plays I've ever seen them come up with. You saw how it went down. Sidney Crosby bats the puck to the boards. It's one back to the point to Chris Letang. Goes over to Evgeny Malkin. Goes down to the center. Goes down to behind the net. But Jake's in that little bit of that bumper position. Gets set up. Beautiful play. And he just flubs it wide. High and wide. You couldn't have scripted up a better play than that. Because as soon as I saw that puck go down and the Stars were chasing Sid, I'm like, okay, Jake's wide open. Give it to him. Nope. And they gave it to him. Jake just misfired on it. I think if he gets another chance, a crack at that, it's probably in the net considering how good he's been this season. But, those are the fine lines in this kind of game. Ottinger was just very solid. I mean, I don't know what else you want me to say. This has been a thing I feel like against the Penguins for, in a lot of their games this season, where the opposing goalie, and I put a tweet out there about this, even when the Penguins have won games, it always feels like the opposing goalie, no matter who it is, just outplays whoever the Penguins have in net. And yeah, I know you're Casey DeSmith going up against Jake freaking Ottinger. It's pretty hard to outplay him. But man, I would love for the Penguins to be on the opposite side of something like that. Just once. And I'll say this to end the segment. They play the way they did in that game and in the game against Colorado. They're going to win more games than they lose down the stretch here. Assuming things go their way. 10 games is a very small sample size. A lot of random things can happen. We all know hockey has the most randomness of any sport out there. But process has been there. They got the result on Wednesday. They should have gotten a better fate on Thursday. Keep playing that way. Finish your chances. Get better goaltending. Win the special teams battle. Bing, bang, boom. You're going to the playoffs. Just keep up that process. Keep it up. Make the improvements, even with the players who are out right now. I don't know if Jeff Petrie is going to go on Saturday. If Steve Levy and Ray Ferraro were saying that it sounds like he's kind of getting close. But just do what you can. See what happens. We don't know what's happening with Tristan Jarry. I heard yesterday that his back flared up yet again. Been that groin/back thing all season. As long as she's been rotating. And oh yeah, Mike Sullivan was gaslighting, as I told you all he was last week on the show. Hope you know that. But just keep up that process. Hopefully that leads to some more results, and hopefully they're able to sneak into the playoffs and extend that streak. And who knows, maybe they'll go on like a Cinderella run or something like that. But if I am any of you all listening / watching the show, just know I would not be really upset about that performance. I would just be upset about how there's just no margin for error, and that's the Penguins have themselves to blame for that, because you can't get swept 3 times by Montreal. You can't lose 2 out of 3 to Ottawa. You can't lose 4 games in a row to the Islanders. You win some of those games, you're not in this situation. You're definitely locked into a playoff spot right now. So that's what I have to say for this first segment. Coming up in the second segment, we're going to get into just how bad the finishing ability has been for the Penguins this season, and why that continued to rear its ugly head. If there's one ugly thing from that game against Dallas, it is the finishing. I'm going to give you all some numbers when it comes to that. But before we get into that, no matter how the last game went, anytime you take the field, you've got a shot at greatness. Give your team the best shot at winning by recruiting more MVPs with Indeed. If you're hiring, you need Indeed because Indeed is the hiring partner where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. And it's the only job site where you're guaranteed to find quality applications that meet your must-have requirements or else you don't pay. Instead of spending hours on multiple job sites hoping to find candidates with the right skills, you need one powerful hiring partner that can help you do it all. Indeed makes it easy to hire great talent. According to ComScore, the site is the #1 job site worldwide and delivers 4 times more hires than all other job sites combined, according to Talent Nest. Right now, you can start hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/lockedon. Offer is valid through March 31st, so a week from today, on Friday, next Friday. Go to Indeed.com/lockedon today to claim your $75 credit before March 31st. One more time, Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. All right, we're back in this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I'm your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. Follow the show's Twitter at @LO_Penguins. And of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. So let's get into a issue that I think not as many people are talking about. I will say, I'm trying to remember who it was that was commenting on the YouTube page over the last couple of days about the finishing ability, because I was able to dive in a little bit about it. I believe it was, let me try to find it here. I believe it was John Smith who was talking about it. Yeah, he said, it's like I said, it is the finishing, and he's right. I did a little more digging on it with the help of CK44 response code. You all are going to be very upset when I read you these numbers. Okay. Per Natural Stat Trick, since February 1st, the Penguins rank #1 in expected goals at 3.52, #1 in Corsi, or shot attempts per 60 minutes, first. Goals for per 60, so actual goals for per game versus expected goals for, 2.62, that's 21st in the league. Yens want to know what their shooting percentage is in the last 2 months, basically. 6.88%, 31st in the league. Basically, oh yeah, dead last. Yup. They are one of, if not the worst finishing team in the freaking league. It is awful. And it's just, yeah, I'm just making sure I got everything good here. Yeah, 31st out of 32nd. 6 point. And this has been a problem, not just this season, but last season. They were also in the lower third of the league last season when it comes to finishing. They generate all these expected goals, but they don't have the players outside the top 6 to finish those chances. It's why the bottom 6, one of the main reasons why the bottom 6 has been utter garbage this season. They have no one down there that can finish plays. And it's also why Mikhail Granlund was a really bad acquisition because, again, he doesn't finish at all. He's a playmaker. And, oh, by the way, he has 2 points in the 10-11 games since they acquired him. Honestly, we can say this. He doesn't have a point in none of the games except the game against the Flyers. It's been bad. It's been bad against. But, again, you build your bottom 6 this way. This is the result you're going to get. Everyone knew after last season, the process is there. The process is there. They got the results. Some of these guys can produce, but still, a lot of other players on the team were not producing. Ron Hextall obviously didn't see that, and he decided to go out there and change up the defense and change up the bottom 6, but he didn't change up the bottom 6 in a good way because he didn't bring in any pure finishers. And the same problem is persisting this season. Usually that regresses to the mean where, you're kind of average at finishing. But they've been 31st in the league in the last 2 months behind teams like Chicago, Anaheim, Columbus. That shouldn't even be possible with how much talent is on this team. Now, in terms of overall this season, Penguins rank in expected goals for 3.1, 4th in the league. Corsi, or shot attempts, they ranked 5th in the league. Goals for per 60 at 2.56, 19th in the league. Overall, their shooting percentage this season, 7.54%, 31st in the league per natural stat trick. And this is all at 5v5. Awful. You want to talk about one of the main reasons why this team has struggled to get results this season? This is one of them. John, I thank you for bringing that. You brought that up a couple of times in the YouTube comments. Was able to do some digging on it with the help of CK4 for response code. Terrible. Just awful. A team that is trying to make the playoffs should not be ranked 31st in finishing and at even strength. That is just not acceptable in the slightest. And again, even Danny Shirey noted, who covers the team for DK Pittsburgh Sports, that usually percentage luck like this should start to fall in the Penguins' favor or regress, as I just said. But, this has also been a problem for them dating back to the start of last season, where their finishing ability was really poor. The last time this team had good finishing was when Jared McCann was on this team. I believe they were top 10 in the league in terms of finishing. Gee, I wonder why. They had players on that team that could actually finish their chances, like Jared McCann, like Evan Rodriguez, like Freddie Gaudreau. Don't got those guys anymore now. You got a bunch of dudes down in your bottom six who can't produce worth crap. And it also doesn't help that Brian Russ is having the season from, the HE double hockey sticks right now. That poor guy, man. He cares a lot, and you can see it. He's just, I was doing this show with, it's a new show I do every Friday now with Brian Metzer and Josh Haley, Hockey Happy Hour on ESPN Pittsburgh. And he was telling me today that, after in the game in Ottawa, when, he missed a chance, he missed a chance to clear it. Remember at that late power play, he puts his head down like this. And remember last night against the Stars, he misses that half wide open net, basically. At least half of the net is empty, and just shoots it right into Ottinger's pad, goes to the bench, slams it. Apparently he said after the game, he's like, I got to fucking score on that. And he seems pissed. He's just having a disastrous season. But it's like those kind of chances. Multiple odd man rushes. You saw the lack of finishing on display in that game against Dallas. That Ryan Russ chance, that Rickard Raquel chance, but that's also maybe just, that one at least is just Jake Ottinger being really good. The multiple odd man rushes with Malkin, Ryan Poehling, Mikhail Granlund, I think, had a couple. No one's been able to finish. And it's been like this all season long. They don't have enough pure finishers in this lineup to help out when that top six is not producing. And that's one of the main reasons why they are where they are in the standings. The underlyings, again, are mostly solid. But that finishing one just continues and continues to be brutal. Just not good enough. Other things from that game, the goals that were scored, I'm not going to really blame Casey DeSmith for any of those. Taylor Fadoon just, he was kind of out of his depth on the Jamie Benn goal. I don't really like how he went down there, not Jamie Benn, because obviously he doesn't go down, as I love saying that joke. That one's okay. He's an AHL call-up, people. The Joe Pavelski one's just a gorgeous tip. I mean, he's been doing that forever. And then the Rupe Hintz one, really nice shot from him to split the defense. A lot of goalies are going to give that one up. So I'm not really going to harp on DeSmith at all, honestly, for this. Dallas got a couple good goals. Penguins were in that game until the end. But, if they had at least a couple of finishers, this game could have been a lot different, And on that rush chance where he went forehand, backhand, that was when the game was 1-1 still. That was early on in the third period. The Penguins scored there to make it 2-1. Who knows how the rest of that game goes? I really do think that they deserve the better fate. They played very well at the end on that 6-on-4, as I said, with that setup play. They were firing, plenty of pucks at Ottinger, but, he was the main difference in this one. Again, they play like that in most of their games here, or in all of their games here down the stretch in these final 10. I think they will make the playoffs, but we just have to see, because these are obviously very, very small sample sizes. That'll do it for the second segment, though. Coming up to end the show, it's Pens Caps time. Final game of the regular season against the Capitals. Capitals have caught up a little bit in the standings. This is a big one for both teams. We're going to preview this one and how the Penguins can come out on the right side after losing in a shootout last time to the Capitals. They've taken 3 out of 4 against them this season. But before we get to that, the NCAA tournament is heating up, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. That's because right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's right. That's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet does not win. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon right now to claim your no-sweat first bet. Then you can wager on everything from the money line to point spreads to which team will be cutting down the net. And it's all in an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So don't miss your chance at a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you go to FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Locked On. All right, we're back here in this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter, Hunter Hodes, all the show's Twitter, LRSO Penguins. And of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. So, Penguins Capitals round 3, the final meeting between these two teams this season. Capitals now all of a sudden 4 points behind the Penguins. Penguins do have a game in hand on them. Penguins can win this one in regulation. They'll be 6 points up with the game in hand. Capitals will only have 8 left to play. Penguins will have 9. It'll be almost impossible for the Penguins to lose that lead over the Capitals unless they just lose all the remaining games, and the Capitals go on a big run here. But the Capitals also have a very tough schedule. But Penguins lose this one in regulation. Now you're only 2 points up on them, and the Panthers play tomorrow. So this is a big game for this hockey team. Capitals just blew out Chicago at home 6-1. That game after they blew actually a 3-0 lead and lost in overtime to the Blue Jackets. The Capitals are a bit more healthier right now. They did just welcome back John Carlson. So welcome back. He had a fractured skull. Godspeed for him, man. Really hope he's okay. Forward lines, you know what you're going to expect. Alex Ovechkin with Dylan Strome and Tom Wilson. Ovechkin, Russian machine never breaks. It's very rare when he's hurt. He still scored over 40 for yet another season. He has the record for the most 40-goal seasons, I believe, in NHL history, and the most 30-goal seasons in NHL history. I know Sid has his 11th now, ties Mario Lemieux, but Ovi is well up top with that, and he's also at the top in terms of 40-goal seasons. He is a treat. You know, it's always a special occasion when Ovi comes to town and plays number 87. What started out as a pretty fierce rivalry has turned into kind of a bromance now between them. You know, and honestly, I know a lot of both the fan bases don't like each other still, but I do think the rivalry has gone down a little bit. It's definitely not where it once was. And, 2016 and 2017 and 2018, oh man. I remember those days like it was yesterday, don't worry. But, it's still always fun when these two go at it. They're two pretty good friends now, great competitors. These two teams have played instant classics over the years. There's going to be some whack stuff in this one. And, it means a lot just because the Penguins, they're squarely in the playoff push right now. The Capitals, they are a little bit back in the playoff push, though I don't think really anyone expects them to get in right now, but they have clawed their way a little bit back into it. But again, they have a really tough schedule the rest of the way. But you always have to be on high alert for Ovechkin. He scored in the last matchup. Please stop leaving him wide open on that side of the ice. Ryan Poehling decided to cut to that. Remember, he decided to cut to the middle a little bit last time and leave Ovechkin wide open for the one-timer. Can't let that happen again. No, you want to make sure you are covering him on the power play. Dylan Strome, he's been very good. He is someone I really wanted the Penguins to sign this offseason, but obviously that didn't happen. Tom Wilson, he will be in the lineup for this one. You all know what he can do. One of the best power wingers in the league. Sonny Milano, Nicholas Backstrom, TJ Oshie on the second line. Nice to see Nicholas Backstrom back and playing at least decently after that back injury. TJ Oshie has been a Penguin killer over the years. Sonny Milano has been good ever since he was signed. Anthony Mantha, Evgeny Kuznetsov, Craig Smith on the third line. Smith came over in the Dmitry Orlov trade with Garnet Hathaway going the other way. And then Alexei Protas, Nick Dowd, Connor Sherry, also a Penguin killer. Defensively for them, John Carlson, Martin Fehervary, Rasmus Sandin with Nick Jensen. Sandin came over in the trade with for Garrett Gustafson. He's been really good for Washington. He is definitely someone you want to circle. The Leafs, I couldn't believe they gave him away, to be honest. I don't know what they were doing there. I would have, if they were up to me and I was Kyle Dubas, I would have just kept Sandin and not traded for Gustafson. I think he's a better defenseman than him. But hey, I'm not the GM of the Maple Leafs. And then Trevor Van Riemsdyk and Alexei Alexeyev, and then I do think it'll be Darcy Kemper in this game. He just came back. He was a little bit banged up. Charlie Lindgren had been starting some games, but I do think we will see Kemper in this one. The Penguins, they've done well against Kemper this season. Obviously got the big win in Washington where he gave up a couple of howlers in the second game. He actually did give up a howler. I believe that was when Russ scored to tie it up. And that was the game where he just gave up a really weird goal late in the third period. Definitely was not a good one. But, this is going to be a fun one. Got to slow down Washington's power play. I know it's not as good as it used to be, but they have plenty of triggermen. Carlson's running the show now. He didn't play in the last matchup. Ovechkin obviously on that other side. Backstrom running down low, and then Kuznetsov on the half. Actually, no, it's Backstrom on the half wall. Kuznetsov a little bit down low. Oshie in that bumper spot. It's a very good setup. Penguins going to have to be on high alert for it. You got to slow down, even just their depth. Connor Sherry's played well against them in the past. Evgeny Kuznetsov usually has pretty good numbers against the Penguins. You all know what to expect. It's Penguins Capitals. This is a must win. You cannot lose. You can't lose this game, especially in regulation, because then you only be 2 points up on the Capitals. Capitals also sold at the deadline. Can't be letting a team you can't be letting a team pass you when they literally sold off some assets at the deadline and you bought. Penguins didn't even do what the Capitals did. And yeah, people can easily make arguments the Penguins should have done that, especially with where they are in the standings right now. But I also understand why they did, because you have an obligation to the core that you want to win. I think Washington took a little bit of a different stance because they want to add a little bit more during the summer to try to get Ovechkin back to the playoffs. But, these guys aren't going to roll over and die. They know what the situation is. They're 4 points out. That's why people are like, oh, why are they going to bring John Carlson back? They're going to bring him back because they're in a playoff race. Just despite the moves they made, you don't think they want to get in? You don't think Ovi knows that the end of his career is coming? He's older than both Sid and Gino. He's 30. He's 37, right? Yeah. So the Caps aren't just going to roll over and die here. The Penguins are going to have to earn it. If they can get some traffic in front of Kemper, maybe get another squeaker goal past him, that will go a long way. If it's Casey DeSmith in net, which I do think it's going to be him, he's got to play the way he played against them. Last time I thought DeSmith played pretty well in that game in Washington. I believe he was one of the main reasons why they got a point in that one. I'm only nervous with DeSmith because the more he starts, the worse he plays. I just don't like the timing right now with only 10 games left. Jarry's back flared up again. Hopefully this is more of a short-term thing because I didn't really notice anything wrong with him after that game in Denver when I went back and rewatched it. I'm not really sure what's going on there. But Penguins are going to have to try to win that goaltending matchup. Special teams will have to be better. Keep that process going. The Capitals, they do bleed a decent amount of shots against. They're also not that deep. They're not that good of an offensive team. Peter Laviolette teams are honestly never that good offensively, but they do still have a lot of game-breaking talent. Ovechkin, Tom Wilson, TJ Oshie, and Kuznetsov, you all know the drill. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I want to see the Penguins forecheck aggressively. Want to see them make better decisions with the puck. I want to see some less aggressive pinches, especially with the wingers the Capitals have that they can burn you at any time. Really curious to see how this one goes. This starts a stretch of 4 of their next 5 at home. Have to take advantage of that. Final game against the Capitals this season. Got to put them away here. You win this game regulation. You're 6 points up on them with the game in hand. Capitals will have 8 games left. Penguins will have 9. You got to put teams away when you can and make it and give yourself the best chance you can to get into the playoffs. So that'll do it for this one. Really appreciate all of you listening / watching. I'll be back with another episode for you all on Monday where we will recap that game against the Capitals and get you all set for the second of 3 meetings against the Detroit Red Wings. Yes, 2 of the final 10 games of the Penguins are against the Red Wings after they blew that 4-0 lead against them, which was pretty pathetic a couple months ago. But again, thank you all so much for listening. Have a wonderful weekend. Let's see what this team is made of on Saturday. I'll talk with you all on Monday.